If you know anything about ancient Carthage, it likely involves two extreme images. The first is General Hannibal marching war elephants across the frozen Alps. The second extreme image is a horrifying ritual, children thrown into the mouth of a fire-breathing bronze statue. But there is a massive blind spot in this history. Virtually everything we know about the Carthaginians was written by the people who spent centuries trying to kill them, the Greeks and the Romans. In 146 BCE, Rome finally won. They burned the city, enslaved the survivors, and gave away its massive libraries to local African tribes. In an instant, the Punic voice was entirely silenced. Today, archaeologists and historians are looking past the texts and digging into the literal ruins, unearthing physical evidence that the Greco-Roman sources either missed or intentionally ignored. Carthage was a complex civilization with its own intricate civic identity. We are only just beginning to piece together its true history. Roman writers framed Carthage as a kingdom ruled by corrupt Eastern despots. It was the perfect contrast to Rome's self-image as a law-abiding, enlightened republic. Yet decades before Rome became a superpower, the philosopher Aristotle studied the Carthaginian Constitution. He praised it as a masterpiece of political balance. The government was built on a mixed structure. It was led by executive magistrates called sophites, supported by an aristocratic council of elders, and anchored by a democratic people's assembly that held a crucial role in arbitration. This system was designed specifically to prevent any one individual from seizing total power. It maintained remarkable political stability for centuries and violently rejected attempts at tyranny. Carthage possessed a political system that was every bit as sophisticated and stable as the Roman Republic. The second myth is that Carthage was a sudden upstart, a menace that existed purely to challenge Rome's expansion into the Mediterranean. In reality, Carthage had been the dominant maritime power for centuries. They had already fought a massive series of conflicts known as the Sicilian Wars, battling Greek city-states for control of the central Mediterranean long before Rome looked toward the sea. This long history transformed Carthage into a wealthy maritime empire. By the time Rome began to expand, the Carthaginians already operated a massive, dominant navy and a network of colonies stretching from North Africa to Iberia. Rome didn't fight a rising upstart. It challenged the established, dominant hegemon of the ancient world. Then there is Hannibal Barca, remembered as a mythical force of nature who nearly brought Rome to its knees. Hannibal's crossing of the Alps was a strategic necessity. With the sea controlled by Rome, he had to attempt the freezing northern peaks. At the Battle of Cannae, he executed a tactical masterpiece. By retreating his center and drawing the Romans in, his flanks wrapped around their army in a legendary double envelopment that annihilated tens of thousands of soldiers. But battlefield genius only goes so far. Hannibal could win engagements, but he couldn't break Rome's alliance system or conquer the capital itself. He remained stranded in southern Italy for 14 years, an irritant that Rome eventually learned to contain. He was a master tactician, trapped in a fatally flawed grand strategy. Finally, we have the most inflammatory myth, the Tophet. For centuries, it has been described as a site of barbaric infant sacrifice, the ultimate proof that Carthage deserved to be destroyed. These horrific stories were amplified by 19th century pop culture and ancient Greco-Roman polemics to cement a savage stereotype. In 1862, a novelist, Gustave Flaubert, popularized the image of children being fed into a fire-breathing idol for modern readers. Archaeological analysis of the thousands of urns at these sites reveals a biological profile that the propaganda ignored. A mixture of animal remains and human infants who show evidence of having died of natural causes or stillbirth before their ritual cremation. These sanctuaries were found throughout the Punic diaspora. They were foundational civic institutions that integrated religious life with the social order. Ultimately, the Tophet was a central cultural anchor for the everyday Punic people, not proof of their barbarism. By the end of the wars, Carthage was reduced to ash. Hannibal died in exile, and Rome believed they had ended the rivalry forever. But a few centuries later, as a Roman colony bloomed over the ruins, the local population did something unexpected. They began rebuilding the old Punic Tophet. They adapted the old Punic goddess Tenet into a Romano-African deity named Celestis, rebuilding her sanctuary into a monumental temple complex. As Roman Carthage flourished, Celestis became the city's principal deity and its civic standard-bearer. The cultural identity of these Roman Carthaginians remained firmly rooted in their pre-Roman past. They walked Roman streets, but they looked back to a Punic soul. Rome won the military war, but you cannot assassinate a culture. The Carthaginians survived by hiding in plain sight, ensuring their identity lived on deep within the empire that tried to erase them.